Welcome to the Dual Comm
excuse me.
What?
What was your name again? Mr. Big Bad Burger King Dragon.
Barbecue sauce.
Barbecue sauce. I need to introduce myself before we start the show to you. We haven't really met yet.
Yeah, who is this? Who do I have here?
I'm Addy or Adam or Epos Vox, Lost Saves. When we originally scheduled the show, you may have known me by my cringy Leet Speak Handle Demolisher. I'm told I'm supposed to be doing a podcast with you. What is this about? No one gave me any. My people didn't give me any heads up.
So I feel like this is 2012 and Yaush or something. Yeah, I feel like we need to put the machinima intro in here. What's going on here, sir?
I don't know. I'm really kind of miffed with you though. I have the original invitation of you inviting me to join the Dual Comm podcast 14 years ago, almost to the day.
Oh my goodness. Let's look at this here. So he's dropped, by the way, everybody, hey, welcome back to the show. It's the 1 year anniversary of the Dual Comm podcast. He just threw me a screenshot of a DM here in Discord from 2011. December 20th.
2011, where you asked PS, Dual Comm in a few weeks?
Dang, is that the original?
It's the original collab invitation. I spent forever scrolling in my Twitter DMs to find this.
That's what I was going to ask is, where is this? This is Twitter?
So
what was this, 100 years ago?
We had this fun gap where, so we started chatting on the Yaush forums, which for those who don't know, Yaush was a YouTube multi-channel network, kind of like Machinima back in the day. It was a competitor. We started chatting in their forums. I found the emails, and then we moved to Twitter, and we chatted there a little bit, and then we moved to Skype. And then Skype died, and there was a brief gap between Skype and Discord taking over where we chatted like at least 3 days a week on Twitter DMs. So I had to scroll from 2014 to 2018, like forever, to get to 2011.
Gosh.
And I found the original where you invited me to a Dual Comm. And obviously back then that was just the standard name for the collab format.
Yes.
But I thought it was funny that that's like the origin of basically this podcast. 14 years ago, almost to the day.
Dude, first of all, forums. Can we just say forums are the best? Could they come back, please?
Yeah.
Not Reddit comments, but forums. What a cool surprise, dude. Oh my gosh. Thank you. And that honestly would have been right around the time that we met, because I was playing Half-Life 2 on Steam on like a Mac Pro. And that's my original memories of like conversations together, was like just typing to you through Steam while I'm like, dude, the airboat section's so sick. You know?
Can't recover Skype messages, can't recover old Steam messages, but Twitter, I'm glad I hadn't deleted it yet, because this was like
that's amazing. That is amazing. And yeah, I remember the Skype era. Gosh, I'm glad that came to a conclusion, because I remember all of the just group chats. You remember how laggy that stupid thing was?
Yeah. And it like basically guaranteed that you'd get doxxed, because it like gave out your IP. I saw messages in there where you had this like complex setup to route your Skype through a proxy and stuff to like protect.
Oh, well, yeah, because it straight up exposed IPs, and people would just like dox you, or back then it was mainly just like knock you offline or whatever. I wasn't ever a streamer, so it didn't really matter. But dude, thank you. That's so sick. I'll put that screenshot in the opening of the show. This is episode 18. This is the 1 year anniversary show. We're about like 2 weeks late on it. It's been really busy and hard for both of us.
Yeah.
But this is going to be sort of a special show. We're going to talk about our favorite segments from the Dual Comm here in year one, and revisit some of those topics and ideas, what stood out, what maybe changed. And then we still have normal topics and regular stuff to discuss. But I just want to open by saying a huge thanks to everybody who's listened to the show in the last year, and a huge thanks for giving Epos and I the ability to publish the show with a lot of flexibility. I think that was my number one apprehension point when we went into this, because I did Destiny the show for like 4.5 years, which was a weekly Destiny news podcast, and I had a ton of fun, but it was so challenging to stick to that really tight schedule that it ultimately made it very freeing to step away. So being able to have the flexibility to like put this out when we can and make sure the quality is there has been massively appreciated, and that's only because of this really cool community. So I'll just open it by saying a huge thank you to all of you. Thank you very much. What a fun year, right, Epos?
Seriously. Yeah, this basically started with like a 30-minute collab, and we're like, should we do a podcast? We can't really commit to like a regular schedule, and everyone in the comments was just like, this has to happen now. And yeah, I think it would not be hyperbolic to say that in a weird way, the past year of doing this has been kind of life-changing for the both of us. Not, we're not raking in fame and fortune or anything, but like it's allowed us to really evaluate why we love doing what we're doing and our relationship with it in a lot of ways, both through the introspection in these segments that we do, the feedback, and like you said, the positive feedback loop of like, we are basically only talking to people that really want to have real conversations here. And that felt impossible to access through standard YouTube videos.
It did. Yeah. And this is like the favorite piece of anything that we get to create, I think, for both of us. And so, yeah, huge thanks. And it's going to be a big show. So why don't we just straight up hop on in? Do you want to begin with the favorite segments, or should we talk about that demo disc topic first?
Let's talk about the comment real quick. I got a comment on my, speaking of olden times, I re-edited and re-uploaded my PlayStation 1 Slim, or just the PS1 unboxing that I had originally recorded in 2016 on a different channel and posted it to Lost Saves, just as a throwback. I'm trying to like preserve some of my older videos on Lost Saves now that it has momentum. And someone commented asking us to talk about something on the podcast. IC1172 says, man, demo discs are so nice because the PS1 Slim came with a demo disc in the box for the console. You know, I don't know if this could be a topic on one of your guys' podcasts, but could the reason that they are not common, basically extinct nowadays, that being demos, is because developers think people can just demo it through content creators and streamers. Just doesn't feel the same, though. I just played a demo of Astrobot at Walmart, and it felt amazing compared to watching BBKDRAGOON playing it in his videos. I don't know. Just thought about it. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Man,
Love that.
I miss kiosks. Like, I didn't even know Walmart still had them because most of my stores do not have game kiosks anymore.
Maybe it's an international store or something, or is Walmart only United States? I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I remember being young, there was a Kmart, and you literally had a PS2 kiosk next to a GameCube kiosk next to an Xbox kiosk. Yeah. I didn't care about germs at the time. Now, like post 2020 Dragoon is like, oh, no, bro, I'm not touching
that controller.
And then better like dunk it into just a pot of bleach afterwards, right? Yes. The controller. But yeah, no, that's how I played and sampled stuff.
Basically to see it.
Yeah, the TV was really tall. So if you're a kid, right, you're looking up at the CRT, and then like it's connected through this big plastic thing that kind of looks like an accordion that like you could, I don't know, it just had a bouncy, satisfying thing to it. It's, what a feeling. But yeah, I love this comment on multiple levels because Astrobot is probably the best example of a game in the last 15 years that watching it will not at all communicate how that game feels. Yeah. Nothing feels like it. Someone can correct me. I've played quite a few PS5 titles. I think far and away, it is one of the best examples of the DualSense and what the controller can do. And it's such a unique experience.
Yeah, that's Spider-Man and Returnal. I know both Spider-Man and Returnal are on PC now, and I think they even support some of the DualSense stuff on PC, but like I can't imagine playing those games without it because of the way all three of those games interact with the controller. And you cannot get a single grasp of that from gameplay capture. Yeah. And I think that applies to a lot of games. Like I think had I been given a demo of like Horizon or God of War or something where I could jump into the action and see what I'm working towards before I actually started playing the games and had my own first impressions, I probably would have been more committed to get to those points earlier in my experiences with those games. And I definitely agree with what Icy said that like I do believe the AAA space at least sees just distributing keys to streamers and content creators. Even freaking Xbox now, I'm subscribed on a website called Keymailer, and like they just hand out keys like wild. Like that is their marketing now. They just assume that content creators covering the game is going to do a lot of the marketing legwork in terms of demoing the game for them, and they'd see less value in putting a demo out themselves. However, in the indie space, we are seeing a revitalization of demos with both Steam and itch.io having regular demo festivals of sorts and a big push for every indie game to have a demo and to put them out there. And there's even like, they'll do like collections of them. Like there was, I think last year, a PS1 style horror game demo disc collection of indie games. And so there's a lot that goes into that because discovery of these smaller games is so much more difficult that you kind of have to jump in and be able to feel them before you buy, or you're not going to know if you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah. And they just don't get the, I guess it's not right in your face the way, okay, when you unbox this PS1, the demo disc was right there. And it's such a great idea because immediately you feel like you've been given value. Here's a bunch of games to try. You probably came home, right, back in the day with your PS1 with maybe one or two games. It was pricey, It was expensive. But then the ability to try a bunch more is probably going to accelerate you towards buying one of those games a whole lot more.
Yes.
And it is funny you mentioned the Xbox thing, because I literally was given a key for the Outer Worlds 2 like a couple of weeks ago, which now I have to disclose. Like, yeah, they gave me a key. I played the Outer Worlds 1. I loved that game. It was super fun. But I think you are totally correct, because they now just, you don't see as many studios putting together a demo build and putting that effort in.
Yeah.
However, I want to take the other side of the argument. There actually are a lot of demos, but you have to look. And Steam is one of the most prevalent and easy places. I play a few Steam demos every single week. They do their Steam Next Fest typically like once a quarter. But if you actually go and look, Nintendo has a ton of demos for their software.
Do they?
PS5 has some. Yeah, if you go to the eShop, there's actually quite a few games that have a demo, like Pikmin 4, the 3D Kirby game that I can't remember its name. Like, there's a good amount, but not what used to be prevalent. And I do wish, like, imagine picking up a PS5, right? It would be, you get the built-in Astro, why am I blanking? Not Rescue. Is it Rescue Mission? Playroom. Yeah. You get Playroom, which is a really cool thing, but why not like 10 games or 10 little snippets of games pre-installed or something cool? Because it just seems like too cool of a concept that we've lost out on. But I do want to note, there are still a lot of demos. You just have to dig for it.
Yeah, discovery of them is kind of obnoxious. And it's, like you said, it's not in your face, like with the discs included with the consoles. And even on Steam, and this, I don't know what the exact problem is, but sometimes Steam demos get listed a little separately from the game. Like if you search for a game, often the demo is a separate list. And sometimes the demo badge doesn't show up on the normal game page, even though there is an entry for the demo. So like it's a little weird sometimes, but yeah, you definitely search around. Like if there is a game you're curious about, just search and see if there is a demo of it. It might be in a weird place you didn't expect. It might be, you know, whatever, but it's definitely worth checking out, especially for smaller games. I know there's some on console still. I know there's, I would just love to see more, like you said, bundled with consoles. I think back to my PS4. When I got my PS4, it came with a copy of The Last of Us Remastered. And I knew even back then that was like a big, super long investment of a game. I never played that copy. It's cool that it came bundled, but I would have rather had like 5 game demos of cool games to try than a long story game that I wasn't even sure I'd be interested in. And even on the 360, a lot, like, I think when a lot of people got their 360, it would have been in that second wave where they had the bundles where you had the like Forza and Marvel Ultimate Alliance like together. Like there was always those 2 game bundle things that were included where it's not demos, but it's at least a couple unique games to try out, versus now it's like, buy your PS4 with Killzone Shadowfall or The Last of Us. Buy your PS5 with this. Buy the Switch with Mario Kart. Like, I'd rather have a few different games to try out and then buy the one game that I'm certain on than, I don't know, get a super long, big game all by itself. And you and I are trying a lot more Steam demos. You and I are trying a lot more Steam demos lately and trying to kind of talk about them and cover them more. There's been a bigger push both on like NoClip and other channels to talk about them more. I want to make sure in 2026 we are kind of sharing more of them, and I've been working on some video formatting for that. Personally, I get too overwhelmed with Next Fest. Next Fest happens at seemingly random points throughout the year, and it's like a week or 2 long, and there's hundreds of demos to sort through. And I feel no intrinsic motivation to make that happen within that time period because there's just so much to sort that I end up just waiting until it's over and people have already sorted through them a bit and then start filtering myself from there, because there's just, it's gotten so popular now, which is a good thing. More demos, great. But like, the formatting of Next Fest is a little overwhelming for me personally. So I'm constantly just like sending BBK and my community manager links to new games with demos to try. My community manager just tried the Wreckfest roguelike that you sent me yesterday. He was playing the demo last night. So super stoked for those kinds of things. And especially on the Steam Deck, loading up demo, like those are less likely to work if they haven't been tested, but like indie games usually run fine anyway. So like loading up your Steam Deck with a ton of demos makes it like the perfect little portable little game trying machine.
Yeah, a couple of numbers here. There's a whole page for game demos for Switch 2 and Switch 1, and there's like 47 demos available according to that page. A few of them are their big like first-party titles, like you can do Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, and I tried, like I said, Kirby the Forgotten Land, and they've got Metroid Dread on there. And then if you go to the PlayStation Store, there's 792 games with demos, the majority looking to be a lot of indies, like doesn't look to be the same degree of the big ones. I think the issue is I get overwhelmed all the time browsing Steam, and I can get fatigued because like even though they keep putting in cool features, there is a lot of stuff that gets published to the shop that's just not finished, and the demo section can reflect that. And so I think what's missing, and people are clamoring and talking about it, is sort of the curation. And right now it's left up to like channels and creators and stuff to do so. I'm trying to take it on myself. Like I always get bummed out because I'll try like 5 or 6 demos and probably only one will stick with me. And then I kind of feel like I wasted a little bit of the other time. But then I need to like refresh and be like, no, hey, remember back in the day, I've got a bunch of PS1 demo discs sitting in this closet here. And I would get official PlayStation 2 magazine subscription each month. And that came with the demo disc. And I'm telling you, most of the time those discs had 2 or 3 bangers, and then the rest were just sort of fluff and bad. And so nothing's really changed here. I just have to flip in my mind. It's not all about min-maxing time.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, I do want to promote, if you guys have a PC, over on Steam, Terra Tech Legion is the game that Epos and I were talking about. This is a really cool vampire survivors wave-based kind of game, but instead of just moving your character around, you drive a car.
Yeah, it's
and
like
the car,
Twisted Metal or Wreckfest or something. Like it's sick.
Yeah, and all of your upgrades are different, like weapons and things for the car. The car's got like 1,000,000,001 little Lego stud points on it where you can place the guns and the weapons, and you build out the car differently each run. Tons of fun, like super cool. This genre is getting way oversaturated, this survivors game kind of thing. But for free, if you want to try 20, 30 minutes out, this thing's sick.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fun to just be had from, just having like 20 or 30 minutes in a demo. Like that, like you said, that is what we had back in the day. I was super hardcore. I think my dad originally had our first PlayStation Mag subscription. So we had that, and then I got OXM, the official Xbox magazine, which came with demo discs, and PC Gamer, and like all of that. And yeah, half the time, half of what was on the disc I either didn't care about or didn't like. But trying games that you wouldn't normally play or even don't like still helps build your understanding of what you do like and the fun that you can have. And it makes you appreciate certain things about other games more. There have been plenty of games where through a demo, I tried it that I otherwise would never have played and wound up falling in love with. And so it's important to realize that. I did want to mention, it's not super obvious, but if you go to the Steam store page and click the drop down for browse, under top destinations, they do have a demos just straight up filter there.
Yes.
And they have the whole curation algorithm thing. Like there's one that looks sick. That's an online co-op hack and slash one called Cloudheim that has like Breath of the Wild graphics. It looks amazing. What? Some of them are going to be junk. Like you can pretty easily filter through. And then there's like freaking EA Sports Football Club 26 showcase. Like, no, thank you. That's got mostly negative. But frogging around, a cute little frog puzzle platformer looks adorable. Cloudheim looks like Breath of the Wild. You can try out Samurai Warriors 5 for some reason. Sure. Tears of Metal, awesome roguelike hack and slash. Like there's so much cool stuff. I didn't even know the new Dynasty Warriors had a demo. I'm going to play that since I haven't bought it yet. Like spend time there and realize it's super easy to expand your horizons with games without needing to watch any quote unquote content creators, if that's your concern.
Yeah, I love supporting studios who are like, try to buy. That shows a level of confidence like in the game itself. If you enjoy it, we think you will probably want to buy the full thing. So that's why we put it in. Dude, have you seen Escape from Duck Off?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I didn't even know that was a thing till last night. I laughed so hard. It's like Tarkov, but it's kind of like a top-down, like isometric take on it. And it's really casual, and you're a duck. And so I just thought that was pretty hilarious.
I love this trend of just making like parody games of the big multiplayer games as like goofy little, like BattleBit and what was the other one? Totally Accurate Battlegrounds and Duck Off and stuff. Like there's something just so fun about that given the current climate of AAA stuff. Like people are just having fun.
Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, let's shift into the anniversary segment here, where we just look back. I want to talk about a few of our favorite segments. If you haven't been here for the last year, I think a lot of our shows, for the most part, have focused on topics that are fairly evergreen. There are a
Yes.
few opportunities this last year, like when Switch 2 was revealed and like the big Xbox Spring Showcase, where we did lean into the news a little bit more. But most of these, I think, are still pretty timely. I guess I'll open with, we had talked about this through Discord, and you are amped to talk about it, and maybe it'll set the stage for this. I wrote you a note that said, like, when I looked back at topics from all of our show notes this last year, my least favorite segments were anything to really do with the AAA industry, the state of the industry, anything the big publishers were doing that were big dumb moments, like basically the news cycle stuff. And my favorite segments ended up being the ones where our hobbies, our passions, and interests intersected with real life. Because I look back and it's like a year ago, yeah, AAA dumb, making mistakes. Like it just is kind of fatiguing. So I'm excited to hear what are your thoughts on that? Because you were pretty amped in Discord.
Yeah, we definitely, like, we caught ourselves pretty early on. Like, our goal with the show was to always try to avoid being just the typical cynical, complainy stuff. And we caught ourselves after a couple of the topics and interactions with comments feeding into topics, trying to avoid that cycle. And so we actually, by the way, split off a lot of the comment responses like we did in this show to a secondary podcast called Dual Comm Party Chat over on Lost Saves, if you want even more of our content. But I think, yes, our favorite, like, most meaningful segments are always going to be those evergreen ones and those that carry a lot more meaning. But I think those are part of the flow with talking about gaming in general, and the more superficial stuff kind of comes with it. Like, we could make the podcast just talking about how our life intersects with games, but I think, frankly, we would kind of run out more of things to talk about if we flooded just that, because through this podcast, and this relates to a comment we did read on Party Chat, through this podcast, we are able to see the state of the industry, see the discourse around things, and kind of filter through it and establish how we feel about it. And then we move on. We talk about it in the show, and then we don't feel the need to harp on it for weeks on end, which is the very thing we complain about, like, modern online gaming discourse being. By having this collaborative space where we can share our thoughts, kind of contend with each other a little bit, and then process and be done, that allows us to have the conversation, not hyperfixate on it for too long, and allow that to further develop our feelings that we have built up for the more intentional gaming, meaningful, life-related topics. And I do think a lot of those topics were developed purely by us just processing the actual gaming industry topics and developing our stances. And there have been a number of shows where we talk about that kind of thing and we're like, yeah, that's gross, whatever. We want to talk about more positive things. And you're immediately in the show notes for the next show have a more life-related topic that you're stoked to bring in there. But you kind of developed your stance on it based on evaluating your feelings that we had talked about for the more industry-related news in the episode prior. So all that to say, yeah, of course, those are going to be our favorite segments, and I don't disagree by any stretch, but I don't think it would necessarily make sense to just have removed all of the other stuff.
That's why I love this show. You can explain how I feel better than I know how to. I think you just hit the nail on the head. I look back at all of the industry-related discussions, and I don't actually, like, remember them. Like, I remember them in the time, and then I remember, oh, well, that actually didn't super matter, which I think is a victory then. We're still talking about it correctly, where, yeah, it's important to discuss, like, the hobby in the sense of, like, where we were at culturally and the context going around with it. It's just not getting hung up on it.
Yes.
And not getting stuck with it. And that's where I feel kind of fatigued with YouTube at the moment. You see one topic or one point of discourse, right? And you click the video, and then your feed for the next 2-3 weeks is everybody harping on that one point, typically with the identical stance. And it feels like it just, those points, everybody gets stuck because the algorithm loves the engagement. It lasts long. Everybody gets burned on. Then we move on to the next discourse point. And it's like beating the dead horse for weeks and weeks and weeks. You watch one, like, Steam Deck is the coolest thing ever video. My whole feed is all the Steam Deck is the coolest thing ever, which it seems super awesome. And that's like a happier side of it. But let's say you watch 1 hour-and-a-half long video essay. Favin just came out with his Halo, what is it called? Campaign Evolved? Sorry. His thoughts on Campaign Evolved. And he's always been, like, very thoughtful, very game design focused discourse on Halo. And I watched it and I really enjoyed it. And then my feed just became all of the really long discussions. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love the conversation happening. But then I can feel pretty fatigued and be like, oh my gosh, is there a button to just like wipe this part of the feed, right? Is there a button to say this one topic? No, thank you. Let's move on. I got my goods. I'm moving on.
Yeah, no, I definitely wish that was more flexible with the pretty much any algorithm. I've noticed the same thing. I had a brief, which I think I'm going to talk about in a separate video, but a brief quote unquote relapse with Instagram as I'm working on deleting all of my meta related accounts. And at first it was a feed of like all the interests that I could ever possibly have. But then if I like 2 reels of the same thing in a row, then that's all my feed is. And it's like, okay, now I'm not interested anymore. But it thought that, I was just going to go all in on that. But yeah, I think I've made a number of life changes personally through the things we've discussed in the shows. And a lot of them, it happened immediately after the life topics, but a lot of those life topics branched off of our broader gaming topics that kind of opened my mind. And I think a lot of the responses we've gotten in the comments are the same way. I don't think a lot of viewers would be on board with some of our more philosophical and like life-changing stances had we not established the context relating to the industry prior.
Yeah. I think I'll just start. My favorite segment, the obvious thing from the whole last year, is literally episode 1, the feelings test. What I like is this is like the foundation for like the whole basis of the show is literally that topic, that segment. And that kind of has kicked off a lot of the changes that we've made here in the last year. Yeah, last year, basically.
Do you remember how that segment went?
Yeah, you were looking at a Roblox.
Yeah, I was so nervous bringing this up. I had no idea if you'd connect with this. I was like, all right, so hear me out. I have a Reddit comment about having kids and guiding kids, and it involves Roblox. And you're like, okay, let's see how this goes. And I'm like, I have no idea. It's become like the foundation
for like so much of the way I think and make videos this last year. But it's simple, right? Before you go into your hobby, let's say with gaming, you're just trying to compare your expectations before and after a session, right? So this parent asked their kid, how do you think you're going to feel before the Roblox session? And then at the end of the session, he asks the kid, well, how do you feel? And you just sort of pay attention. Like, are you having fun or are you not having fun? It's very simple. I know it sounds incredibly simple, but if you do it regularly, it's quite revealing because a lot of times we get stuck in hobbies and loops and things that we just do on autopilot and we may not be enjoying it. And you can get locked into doing stuff you're not super loving for years without even realizing it. And just sort of applying this feelings test mentality to everything hobby-wise that you've got going, or even just checking in with yourself. There's got to be some like word for this that's utilized. Intentionality is a word that I like to use for it, but I know there's probably quite a bit of research and thought beyond us doing it. But I just think it's such a cool back of the napkin test, a little temperature check to like, did I have fun with this game? Maybe not tonight. That's okay. It doesn't always have to be fun. But if it's like week after week after week, you're getting on and playing something or doing something that really isn't fulfilling you or not making you happy, the better thing to do is check in, realize quick, and make a shift.
I'm going to sound super like woo-woo here for a minute. Through this, I have trained myself to physically feel when I'm getting too much of a quick, like, low-quality influx of dopamine. That's what happened with the Instagram thing, because I had installed it to try to delete my account and then wound up accidentally watching some reels. And I could feel in real time as the videos played, like it's like I could feel the dopamine increasing in my head, but not in a good way. And like I could feel myself zombifying in the moment and then recognized immediately when I put it down, like, oh, I feel like crap. And I can feel it in real time through training myself with this, which is crazy. I would have said that's absolute bull crap before, but it's crazy.
So I fully agree with it. My second favorite topic ties directly into this, and it's the lost art of doing one thing. And we talked about, like, we're now in the multitasking era because of smartphones, because of dual monitor setups, because of just whatever, the current paradigm. Everybody's watching a show while scrolling their phone. It's very hard to just, like, absorb yourself into one activity because we've been trained to split our attention multiple ways. And I can tell you, when you try and retrain yourself to just immerse into one activity at a time, if you can do that for long enough, I don't think what you're saying is woo-woo at all. I encounter this all the time now. I used to watch The Office and play games like Stardew Valley at the same time. And honestly, I know that like some of these games are much lower commitment, but I hate it. I really, like, for years I didn't hate it. Years I just did it because it felt like it pacified the time. And I was like, I don't know, just overloading my brain with so much stimulus that I never had to listen to myself think. And I think that's a big part of it. But at the end of like an hour and a half where you've been doing two things at once, you didn't get the full enjoyment out of the one thing, like the show. And you also didn't get the full enjoyment out of the game. Some people will argue with me on this one, and that's totally fine. If you love it, keep doing it. That's a feelings test. I'm not ascribing anything. I'm telling you, just for me, partly it was probably aging or whatever. When you start feeling that overload, I actually get overwhelmed. I actually kind of get a sense of dread that I can't hear myself think anymore. And it's not always easy. Like, rediscovering boredom is hard. I throughout the day will just robotically open YouTube. I've done it on plenty of these podcast episodes he posts where like my brain will wander, and instead of listening, locking in, thinking, I'll just start browsing thumbnails on YouTube. Yeah. And it freaked me out when I started recognizing it. And it's hard. Like, I still, like, when things get hard and I don't want to have like the discipline, sometimes I'll lean into those more comfort things like scrolling and watching a show at the same time. But I feel exactly what you're talking about. Your body starts to scream like, oh my gosh, it's a lot of stimulus right now.
Yes. I'm a maximalist in like all aspects of my life. And ever since I was a kid, I've always been a tech maximalist. I'd be sitting there, playing Combat Arms on my PC on my CRT monitor. I'd have my Game Boy up playing Pokemon and have, the TV blasting cartoons or whatever. And at this point, I am trying my best in all ways to just do one thing at a time because I enjoy it so much more. And I constantly find myself craving like a flow state with my work. And when you only find it in like doom scrolling and content rather than creation, it's really defeating. And so it's really changed my life to just slim down and focus on like the one thing I want to do and feel so much better at the end of the day about what I got done with it, even if it's just making progress in a game.
It's really hard to do. I will tell you this. Like, it is not something that comes easily, and you're kind of deep. It is work. And you're like deprogramming or reverse engineering the last 7-8 years or more of attention economy. Because we didn't just like arrive here. It's been this gradual slope. And it is a game like Stardew Valley is a perfect second monitor style game. And I know there's a lot of people who love those kind of things, but this is just me. I like when I lock in and say, no, I'm doing Stardew Valley right now for 20 minutes. This is all I'm doing. I'm going to listen to the in-game sound effects. I'm going to listen to that music. I'm going to get absorbed in that world. It doesn't mean I don't ever like throw a podcast on while doing something else. But I try to be more cautious when I'm doing that split attention. And we're already seeing the real consequences of this happening. We talked about in a show probably last year or earlier this year, Netflix has literally told their content creators, you need to build shows that are bingeable for people who are scrolling on their phone. They are building content with the narrative dumbed down to where you can still just not pay attention and enjoy the slop that's being fed. And I mean, I haven't finished up my current series on the channel called Offline, but the whole point is like trying to get your thoughts back, trying to like have enough space. And boredom is kind of that first step. Yeah. Giving your brain enough time to hear itself. We've got so much stimulus now, 24/7. You can't even hear yourself anymore.
Yeah. The whole idea of like shower thoughts, like you could have that throughout the day if you just let yourself mind wander instead of immediately like knee jerk opening something to occupy your brain space. And I think that 20-minute thing you said is super crucial. A lot of people, I think a lot of the resistance they express or feel comes from the idea of just eliminating this thing that they genuinely like doing a little bit entirely. And it's not about that. It's about kind of prioritizing. And so you could find a lot more enjoyment out of 20 minutes of focused gaming and then watching that video you wanted to watch than like an hour of watching it alongside the game and barely paying attention to either. You could look into like a Pomodoro timer, which is just like a 20-minute timer to work and then take a break, and then you can apply that to like games or whatever. But smaller sessions that are more focused can often be a lot more enjoyable.
Yep. All right, Epos, what's your favorite segments?
I have 3 that I'm putting together here because I think they directly lead into something that you announced in a recent evening in that in one of our in one of our shows, like right around the new year, you picked up your PS5 and talked about how it was completely changing how you game because you were embracing the couch gaming experience and wanting to kick back and disconnect from your desk. Later, you got an OLED TV and really enhanced that and took it to the next level. And then later, you experimented with PSVR. And all of these were fascinating kind of looks at what it's like to just change up how you play, to just alter the way that you engage with games and how it could unlock new perspectives on actually playing your game and enjoying it and finishing it. And that, to me, has all directly led to you buying a Steam Deck.
I did. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We haven't mentioned that. So they did their sale and, well, I ended up getting the OLED for the Steam Deck. I'm blaming you for the OLED stuff, though, bro.
I don't even have an OLED.
I know, but you've told me before, any display you get from this point moving forward, OLED or bust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I finally get the comments over the last year, dude, just get a Steam Deck. I didn't, I knew the meme was around, but now I fully kind of get it.
But go ahead.
But no, go for it.
I was just, to me, my favorite thing in my hobby doing gaming YouTube, and I know it's become a meme of like the content creator that never actually plays games and just sets up different ways to play them, but establishing different ways to engage with my games and look at them through a different light is incredibly refreshing. It allows me to appreciate older games in different ways and newer games in different ways. And so there are different types of games that I play on my Steam Deck. There are different types of games I play on my computer, and there are different kinds of games that I buy for consoles.
Yeah.
And with retro games, there are some that I will play on a CRT almost exclusively, and some that I'm fine to either play on a scaler on my normal TVs or emulate or whatever. And navigating that, building your understanding of what you like out of gaming is such an enriching experience that is often overlooked because it just sounds like, okay, buy more stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think these are all like things I think about for forever. The Steam Deck's been on my mind for 2 years. We've debated it a ton of times. And then the PlayStation 5, same thing. It was like, thought about it for a long, long time. My old turd of a TV before the OLED had died, and it had giant like bright lights sticking through on the pan. It was bad. And I can definitely agree with what you just said. Each of the places, I mainly play on PC, and PS5 has been this really cool story narrative game spot where you can sit on the couch and it doesn't feel anything like PC gaming. And it feels very unique. And like playing through Astrobot with that DualSense is so magical.
Yeah.
And I just sent that PSVR headset your way, and I'm super excited to hear like what you think about it. And I've always kind of enjoyed being a little bit of a late adopter with technology. And there's something fun about, I don't know, just discovering, like you said, this hobby from different angles. And I can say, man, however you get to play, if you get to play games these days, there's pretty much limitless opportunities for a good time and an outlet to just relax.
And it's another reason trying out these things. I wish like kiosks and game demo stuff were more widely accessible, because even just temporarily trying out these different ways to play games can really be game changing. No pun intended. I remember I first tried VR on a showroom floor at a game event in 2017.
Yeah.
And even on this busy, noisy show floor, putting it on, having the little headphones over my ears, I immediately felt disconnected from this very overstimulating, like busy, packed environment. And I was just like, holy cow, this is incredible. This is amazing. And then through the sponsorship that event was for, I wound up getting an early VR headset. It was the first Oculus Rift. And like, early VR was kind of rough. It was cool, but it wasn't quote unquote there yet. And the difference between that and like the Quest 3 that I had used for a little bit this year is substantial. And getting to just try that out and find that out is huge. Like it makes a big difference towards where you actually play your games. And there's not a lot of easy ways to try that out now. And I'm super stoked to try out the PSVR because there are games like Astrobot and Wipeout and stuff that I am super stoked to try that there is no way for me to experience without being lucky enough to have a buddy who's going to send me this for a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
I wish there was more of that kind of accessibility. And I know scaling that to the entire country or world is impossible, but like, I just wish it were easier to try out these things because it's pretty cool.
It is. I want to add something you mentioned there. I've always been excited about technology, like my whole life. And I know you big time, right? That's like such a huge passion, is seeing how technology has grown and changed. And gaming has been so cool because it directly intersects with technology and like PC architecture in such a unique and rad way. And I'm so thankful we kind of grew up in this era watching the progression from like PlayStation 1 onward and just seeing the leaps that have been made and kind of having that reference point to sometimes pinch myself and go, this hobby is wild. Like there's so many of these experiences that I never dreamed we would get to this point. And I used to watch Tech TV back in the day for the screensavers, which had like Leo Laporte, and I'm forgetting the other co-host name. It eventually became Attack the Show. And I loved just seeing them showcase like, here's this new piece of software that lets you back up your files. And that kind of stuff got me so amped. And I think getting to experience like a PS5 on an OLED, that feels like one of those leap forward moments in technology that's just kind of fun to recognize. And yeah, if I can just say too, off of that point, I don't know if this shifts gears too much, but the PlayStation 5 allowed me to like totally relax, disconnect. And I used it as a very like, this is my story game machine. Like I want to start something like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Remake, and I want to see credits. And I did that a lot this last year, and it was super fun. I'm starting to like reshape and rethink and get back to the concept of like, if I have fun playing something for 20 or 30 minutes, I don't care if I hit credits. And I don't know if that steers this topic in a different direction, but I'm trying more so this next year to just sort of play for the sake of play rather than I need to finish this the way you finish a book.
That is what the Steam Deck has taught me. Being able to just quick resume and to just put 20 minutes in before bed, or when I have a break to just kind of sit down and game for a little bit. And I've already like done my brain processing for the moment to ground myself. It has definitely allowed me to spend that time and to spend it and appreciate it with offline games. Because previously, you and I both, if we had 20 or 30 minutes, we were trying to hop into a Halo or a Splitgate or a Call of Duty or something. And in that short amount of time, especially with the modern matchmaking systems and whatever, blah, 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 it wasn't satisfying anymore. And we kept chasing that easy, I want a game for the sake of gaming moment, and multiplayer stopped giving that to us. And the Steam Deck has allowed me personally, and obviously you can do this with anything, but by being something that doesn't require, like I don't have to make sure my computer's not running anything else. I can still have a video rendering. I don't have to have access to my TV. I can just power it on, be like, all right, whatever's running or whatever I can launch quickly, I'll put a 10, 15, 20 minutes into, put it down, not have to worry about anything. Like it creates, or it removes so much friction that that's why I love the Steam Deck. And I think really you don't need a Steam Deck for that. You just need the right mindset. And we're lucky enough to be able to play with these toys to have that kind of influence our mindset. But I think through basically everything we've talked about in the show with regards to reflection and introspection and whatever, you can reach that point and train your mindset. We've just kind of been experimenting along the way as we figured out where we want that to even go.
Well, yeah, you made a video on the PS4.
Yeah.
And you literally, for about $150, could go get a PS4 Pro and some games and have the exact same mindset.
Yeah.
It truly is the mindset. Because when I started shifting gears, thinking about the Steam Deck, I really started leaning back into my Steam library and trying a bunch of games that I haven't tried yet. Before Steam Deck has arrived, all that stuff, I just wanted to lean back into it. And I've had so much fun playing through a bunch of things I haven't touched in years, things I picked up on older Steam sales, or like I got Mad Max for $3 on the Black Friday Steam sale. And typically, like, It's a 20-ish hour like open world kind of game, and very like formulaic kind of open world. Go to outpost, punch all the people and raise your flag. Here's some upgrade points, right? Rinse, repeat for the next 20 hours. And that mindset of like, I must reach credits is in direct conflict with that. If my whole goal was to reach credits as fast as possible with that kind of game, it wouldn't be fun. It's like trying to reach credits in Just Cause.
Yeah.
The point of Just Cause is just because it's fun.
Dude,
Go blow stuff up.
it's so obvious, but I don't remember if it was our last party chat or normal episode, when you were talking about Just Cause. No, you started talking about Just Cause and then you switched to SSX and you were like, I would be kind of bummed if I hit credits in SSX because like that's not the point. Like I just want to be able to keep playing. As obvious as that is, especially for session games, and it's something I've felt my entire life, hearing that said out loud, especially by another person, just like made something click in my brain, because that's how I used to beat myself up about never finishing games. And so many of them that I played, I felt that way about. Like I never wanted it to just be over. I want to just keep playing at it if it's a fun session-y kind of game. And I think one of my favorite games of all time, Gauntlet Dark Legacy on PS2, which is just a consoleized version of the Gauntlet arcade cab. So any version of Gauntlet, basically. But like, it is a game that, you could beat all of the warp rooms and levels and whatever. But I loved playing as much as I could in like one session with a unique character, because you could make your own characters or you could put in like custom names to unlock unique characters, and like just experiencing all of those differently and playing through it. Like I never really wanted to just race to the end, because that was never the point for me and that wasn't fun. But I always had this weird pressure and like fear of peer judgment or whatever, where I'd beat myself up for not finishing things and just being like, I've played this game my entire life, but I've never seen the end. Like, who cares? I've had fun with this game my entire life, pretty much. Like since, I don't know when it came out, 2001, which not my entire life, but significant amount of my life. Like, I don't know.
No, I've got something for that. How much you play does not mean you have more fun.
Yes.
Beating more games does not mean you have more fun.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the feelings test, which I think is so sick. This is not a comparison. It's not about I had more fun than Epos because I better aligned my choices. It's not. The only person you're competing with here is yourself. And I don't even want to use the word competing, but like hobbies are supposed to be fun outlets that are restorative and like a part of life that hopefully bring joy, right?
Yes.
And this is something where I love, if I enjoy the game, hitting credits. I really like that feeling of like sitting there as the credits roll on a big like story game, and just the flood of feelings that you get. Beating, you can throw any game in here, but like if I do a full Final Fantasy X playthrough, like it's like a life-changing experience. That's one of my favorite games of all time. I've gone through it multiple times, and I kind of leave these big long gaps in between it. It's like finishing a favorite TV show or going through something like there is joy in that. But I like what you brought up. It was about the fun of playing the thing at its core when I was younger. It was not about reaching credits on a game. It was not about knocking out the things from my backlog to help me feel good about the purchases that I'd made. It was literally about just having fun. And so truly, if you are playing a game that fits where you're at right now and you're enjoying it, a 15-minute, a 10-minute session could be just as fulfilling and enjoyable as a 5-hour session if you have that kind of time to play, if not more.
Yeah.
If not more. And so it really just comes down to, like I unlocked all the tracks in SSX Tricky. And there was this moment of like, oh man, there's no more new tracks. I just immediately went back and started playing through the tracks again, because the whole point was it's just fun. And you can frame that, doesn't matter what piece of tech you have, what platform you're playing on, you can get to that mindset with whatever you got right now.
Yeah, I agree. My favorite games are the ones where the gameplay loop is what's addicting, not necessarily just finishing it. I mean, my first games were for PS1, pretty much. Like, I always flex. My very first game was a shareware DOS game, but my first games I really played like as a formative year kid were PS1 games that didn't even have save capabilities. I don't even think we had memory cards yet. They generated passwords whenever you finished a level, and you were supposed to write them down and keep them. And I never really kept track of that. And then even beyond that into the PS2, like I was terrible at keeping up with saves. So I was regularly just playing stuff from the start over and over like an NES game, like, and that was fun. And there are
How far could you get? Yeah, you know?
And there are lots of people who will pick their one game and play it until they get like all the achievements or all the trophies or something. And that has never once, for me, that's fine if that's your form of play. Like that's as respectable as anything else. But for me, that's never once been appealing. And that's why you have options. That's why you can go for those things or you can not. There's now this service called Retro Achievements where if you use emulators, you can actually go for achievements in retro games now, which is kind of cool. But you don't have to be that person that obsesses over finishing it. There is nothing wrong with just like hopping in and trying out games, as long as it's because that's what you want to do and not because, you know, all the other things we talked about. You're getting pulled out of it because you're trying to multitask and you're not actually having any fun and you're just aimlessly searching, which is something I think I've spent a lot of time doing. I think not last year, but the couple years before when I was falling out of my multiplayer enjoyment, I would load up, if I had like a night to game, I would load up and spend an hour jumping between 3 different multiplayer games trying to find that flow that I couldn't find. And then I'd go to try to play a single player game and boot up like 3 different games and just not feel any of it because I'd already like discombobulated my mood with the multiplayer and stuff. And so getting out of that cycle, if you're in there, is super important. But then beyond that, like however you want to play should always be just respected, basically.
Yeah. And I think the pressure here is we're both getting older. We have a ton of interests. And I'm not trying to optimize or maximize my time, but I love the idea of like, if I can put 30 minutes into something and have a good time and it's an enjoyable part, I think that's really cool. I think, honestly, as I'm aging, I become more casual in the ways that I view the hobby, but I'm becoming more intentional with all of the choices surrounding it. And so it's this weird, I don't know, paradox of enjoying it more by doing it less in a certain way.
And that feeds into one of my other favorite topics, which was turning gaming itself into a reward.
Yes.
Especially as you become an adult and get older and have other responsibilities. If you treat it as a reward for doing everything else, you're intrinsically motivated to enjoy it more. You're predisposed to enjoying it more because it's a satisfying moment versus your default state. Like it's like if you ate birthday cake every day, it would no longer be exciting.
Exactly.
If it's this thing that you earn and that you've built up, like you're just going to soar with it in terms of like being able to just get the most out of it quickly because it's this thing that you've allowed yourself to do versus just doing all the time.
I think we talked about this during the segment when we first covered this. The Retro Den made a video talking about this really good about like get your priorities done first, then gaming will feel better.
Yes.
And I know I'm going to sound like old fart dragoon here, but the truth is
do your chores,
if you're using
go to
it,
sleep.
if you're using this to procrastinate or to escape the priorities, there are times where it's appropriate, but I'm saying like in an irresponsible way. If you are like truly, let's say go back to university era, there were times when I gamed too much and I should have been going to bed sooner for class. I should have been doing my homework instead. And I just said, screw it. The boys are on Black Ops 1. It's time to go. And I would play. There was like a year where I would see the sum come up multiple times. Like I would not multiple times back to back, but like literally play till like 4 or 5 in the morning. Right. And then realize, I should go to bed. And it was like, that was not fun. That was not good for me. That was like in the moment it was easier or it felt easier. But there's like nothing better than doing the stuff that matters and then giving you the opportunity to like reward yourself, right? Some people will, before like finals week, sticking with the university like metaphor, they'll just totally stop doing everything. They'll focus on finals. They'll grind. And then as soon as it's done, they give themselves like a vacation to straight up just game. And if you're in a period of time where life, responsibilities, all of it, maybe it's better to just like grind on the stuff that really matters and work towards a vacation, like a hobby, like time that you can just bury yourself in.
When you're more free, you're going to enjoy it more. And that brought up a really interesting contrast. I think about my time in school and in college when like I would be so stoked throughout the day to come home and play like Halo Reach's launch or Skyrim or whatever. And I would think about it all day because it was this thing that was isolated to when I got home. I I remember for like some game playthroughs, I'd be sitting there like drawing out like my character sheet plans and whatever for certain RPGs or whatever, and compare that to the kind of default, I don't know a way to describe this that isn't insulting. So just adult gamer perspective of like, oh, what am I going to do tonight? I guess I'm going to fire up the Xbox and play whatever. Like,
Yeah.
when it's not this thing that you've to use this word again, intentionally gone in and made exciting, it is immediately just, it's not fun when it's just this like, I guess I'll do this.
Oh man, this is just bringing up something I was thinking about that's like, oh, all right. We've mentioned this before. Orbiting your hobby all day long can burn you out before you even get the chance to play. And so, like, we all know we have different things that we love. I love mountain biking, right? And I love watching videos of mountain biking. But if like I'm spending all day long just watching videos of mountain biking instead of getting stuff done, by the time I might get the chance to go for a ride, I might already feel kind of burned out. And I think it's similar if all we do, like for me, any downtime moment, I'm going and looking on gaming news sites and just scrolling. I try not to use Reddit anymore, but the last like 2 days I've been scrolling on Reddit and just like getting this massive influx of like news and articles. And I love watching videos and browsing and looking at all this stuff. And I just remembered like what you said. During university, dude, I'm on campus, I'm in class, and even if the class allowed a laptop, everybody's around you. Yeah. You're not scrolling freaking IGN articles, or maybe you are, but like we now have this era where you could have on in the background, depending on like what stage of life you're at or whatever, like you can literally orbit the hobby all day long and consume content for the hobby all the time, and then you get to the opportunity to do the hobby and you're already like, oh my gosh, I'm burned out and I don't know why.
Yeah. This, I don't remember which episode that was, but when we talked about that, that is what I think started shifting me to just stop. This is poor phrasing, but for lack of a better word, consuming quote unquote content altogether, pretty much. Like I still do, but that realization, because it's not even just gaming. The biggest thing that hurts me is I spent arguably the past 2 years leading up to whenever I started making these changes, watching hours of art videos and craft videos and maker videos and Adam Savage in his cave videos and all that kind of stuff, absorbing it, getting massive good feelings out of it because it is a big special interest of mine, buying supplies and buying all this stuff because I could imagine myself doing all of this thing. And then when I got into the studio and was like, maybe I should art today, all that energy is gone because I've spent it consuming the content and, like you said, orbiting the hobby. I no longer have the drive or inspiration or motivation because I've overloaded my dopamine receptors and I've burned out of the interest. And I just sit down, log into the computer, and watch more videos.
Dude, I feel attacked. I feel so seen right now with that because, yes, I hate it. I default when I hit that fatigue and indecision moment. I just pull freaking YouTube up and I'm having this horrible feeling of like, this has been my favorite platform ever the last 14 or 15 years. And having this like sick realization of like, oh man, I don't actually like the way I feel when I come to this spot anymore. I'm just consuming too much. Like I don't know what it is, but I hate that when I don't have the willpower or the energy or whatever, I just pull up a web browser and end up on YouTube instead of doing something that I want to do. And I don't know, man.
I've had to really train myself.
I want to get away from it somehow.
It was almost muscle memory. The second I was working on something and blinked and I realized it was me wanting a break, not needing more stimulation. My muscle memory, I can even still, like, I move the mouse to the exact bookmark button on my bookmark toolbar to middle click to open the YouTube tab, and then I immediately go through my homepage and open like 6 tabs of videos to have ready for the background. And I started just training myself. Like as soon as I did that, I'd be like, well, this sucks, and close them all. And it was affecting everything. Like the first couple years when I moved into this place and got my studio set up, I was making art projects and doing analog video glitch art, and I was streaming all of this stuff, and I was making really awesome stuff. And sometime through both like burning out a little bit, but also allowing, like, just lacking that self-control and allowing myself, because I think once I got so into the art stuff, I'm like, all right, so what's the YouTube scene look like for this? And started watching things. Then there was like 2.5 years there where I just stopped making, frankly, anywhere near as much because I was just zombifying myself with videos and content.
Yeah, it's a pacifier. And I know I've seen this trend all over on YouTube where it says stop consuming and start creating.
Yeah.
Like the best way to get the good feels and the creativity back is just to go do stuff yourself and watch less. I've tried really hard, especially if we're going to cover anything or talk about anything. I try really hard not to watch other people's videos on it because I don't even want any more like their... I mean, it's okay for some things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not burying my head in the sand kind of a deal.
I had a rule when I was doing reviews that I would never watch someone else's review of a thing before I've at least written mine. That way I couldn't influence, because it's real. Once, I hate to like sound super braggy or something, but like once you have enough experience with like a product type or tech or whatever, it's pretty easy to watch someone else's review, have a little tiny bit of hands-on experience and kind of apply it to what you've seen and more or less be like, all right, either these conclusions are right or they're not. And then just not have to do much work to really review it yourself. And the review you would make from that would still be accurate, but it's missing the personal touch. It's missing all the little things you ran into while actually using it. And that is a hard rule I tried to maintain. And I'm trying to adapt that in recent months / past year, that if there's a thing I want to do, I need to just halt all consumption relating to that thing so I can do it. Because I think as a society, we have lost the drive to navigate into things freely of our own will and our own interests. And this can apply to gaming and literally everything, but it's especially interesting in creative fields because we've lost the drive to just experiment and try to figure things out ourselves. Subreddits for like photography and videography and whatever are flooded with people asking how to do the most basic shots that if you even tried to just do it with the most basic, like point camera at thing, shine light on thing, you would figure it out. But no one wants to try it first. They want to ask and be handed stuff. They want to be handed products to buy or a tutorial that is like snappily edited or whatever. And so, yeah,
I've noticed that professionally, working with others, that there is this trend, especially, I mean, you know, it doesn't matter the age. It can be any age, but we live now in a time where if there's a skill that you want to learn how to do, for the most part, you can do it. It's a willpower thing. It's an intention thing. If you can go seek the information out, anything related to video editing, congratulations, you can Google it and get to the answer most of the time fairly simply, or you can watch a course or a tutorial, just about anything that you can hit.
Read a book.
Read a book, yes. And this is one thing I don't think you can teach or force onto somebody. They have to be willing to take the next step up on the ladder. You can't push them up. They have to choose to climb up and learn that skill to do that thing on their own. There's a lot of people who are really comfortable just being like, well, I don't know, and like throwing their hands down and giving up when it's like, well, just figure it out. We've never lived in a time in history like this where it's almost like the Matrix where, you know, the operator like throws in the floppy disk and then like Trinity can fly a helicopter with like the skills downloaded to her brain in a few seconds.
Did you ever watch Chuck?
I didn't, no.
So it's a show. I don't know that it's aged super well, but the premise is that the main character got some secret government thing downloaded into his brain, which is basically just a massive information database that was just like flashed at him. It's very reminiscent of basically all current AI tool kind of things.
Yeah.
Where like all of this was just flashed into his brain, and in high stress moments, he can just suddenly like have all this processed and like play guitar or do kung fu or whatever, kind of very much, a riff on the Matrix. And like, I used to dream of that. I would constantly research ways to like subliminally flash images at you, like experiments that people did for that to subliminally flash information and images at you to like program your brain for these things. Because the idea of just downloading like a manual of something and then it downloading to my brain and me just learning it, of course with ADHD sounds so freaking appealing.
Yeah.
But as I've aged, I realized the journey of learning the craft is how you make those connections and how you build something new. And I don't want to get on an AI tangent here, but like that is what scares me so much about this current landscape that you're describing, where like if you can't build that connection yourself to make those new ideas, we're never getting anything new. We're never going to make anything new if no one is trying it different ways. And so I am trying so hard to just fail at every craft and idea that I do so that I can find weird ways to combine them.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. We're all just, I mean, it's the tail, the snake eating its own tail forever and ever and ever. Like, tell me how to react. Tell me how to think, internet. And then realizing, oh my gosh, all of the signals on the internet are kind of the worst because it's all attention economy driven, and engagement equals ad time equals money. And it's like, whoa, okay, let's pause here. The good news is I do think there are plenty of people who recognize this, who are, I mean, obviously this show is a testament to that. I had no idea. Yeah. I thought this would be like a very dinky side project that you and I loved doing, and then there would be like virtually like a tiny audience, like 400 or 500 people listening to it.
We went into this expecting it to tank and us to just like keep going in the
passion
face of
project.
Nothing.
Yeah. And it's been overwhelming to see that this is like A, our favorite thing, and then B, like one of the most successful things on both of our channels. And so I'm like super encouraged because there is a wave of people really intentionally thinking and being constructive, and there's hope. There's hope. And I think this show, one of the reasons I like it so much is I think it's hopeful, you know, and that might be a really good point. We are at break time. Why don't we pause there and join for the second half of the show? Those are all of our favorite topics, right?
Yeah, I got one I wanna throw in there, but we can spin it to like a more news topic anyway.
Okay.
But yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks for an amazing first year of the show, everyone.
Yes,
and
thank you so much.
We'll see you right after the break. Welcome back to the second half of the Dual Comm podcast. Epos. I really enjoyed those discussions, but where are we going from here? You said you had one more favorite segment that kind of morphs into a news thing.
Yeah, so I'm going two directions with this. One of my favorite segments was when we had talked about Astrobot being kind of a right place, right time thing because the studio had been making those kinds of, not those kinds of games, basically Astrobot predecessors since the PS4 in little ways, but they were like VR exclusive and all these goofy little things. And that it all seemed to come together at the right time. And this was branched off of for the first few months of the podcast, we had a regular recurring Astrobot appreciation segment as we were both obsessed with it and playing it. And I checked my PS5 recently, and my kiddo and I put a little under 50 hours into Astrobot this year, which is bananas.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's sick, dude.
And I'm putting peer pressure on you now. I mentioned it before, so I want to see if there's viewer interest. I know scheduling will make it kind of funky, but I would love our last episode, if we get one more before the end of the year, for us to cover our Steam and PlayStation and maybe Nintendo, if you want to throw it in there, replays.
Yeah, I would love that. I'd love that. We totally can do that.
Recap the games we played this year. But I wanted to connect it to, obviously, Astrobot was a standout game for being this classic old school gamey game for gamers that was a platformer when we weren't getting a lot of those. We're seeing a lot more of these weird, specific genre niche kind of renaissance periods. And right now we are in the middle of one with 2D beat 'em ups that are pixel art. We had Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, but then we also got Power Rangers Rita's Rewind. We got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one. They just came out with Marvel Cosmic Invasion, which is a 2D, it looks like, you know, old school Marvel versus Capcom pixel art beat 'em ups, like this weird arcade game format that are super cheap to make, that could have been coming out this whole time for super cheap, but because there's this wave of popularity for it, suddenly we're getting it again. And in my ideal dream world, every genre of every kind of game would have a recurring release that fans of that could appreciate. But I think in some ways, at least with how games are made at the moment, we kind of just got to appreciate the waves when we get them. Like if you're really into roguelikes, now is your time. If you're really into pixel art beat 'em ups, now is your time. I'm hoping we reach a point where the less hardcore Diablo lights, like the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance and Champions of Norrath games I like on the PS2, start coming back that are not roguelikes, but just dungeon crawler story games. I hope we get a wave of that. I mentioned before that we're probably getting in a couple years a wave of Baldur's Gate and Astrobot clones. So like that will be your time to ride the wave. But I definitely think part of how you can benefit from that is what you had mentioned before about not being an early adopter. Like there are 6 or 8 of these pixel art beat 'em up games that came out in the past year or two. Cool. Don't play them all in the same year. Pick your favorite And then next year you have another one you can play that's probably cheaper than it was this year. And the following, like, you know, if you space it out, you get to keep enjoying those games. You get to have them for cheaper. I think you called this being the patient gamer.
Yeah. There's a whole subreddit on it. I didn't claim the
oh, really?
The term.
I didn't know
yeah.
that.
It's like a thing. It's like a real thing of people who cherish and love the patient gamer lifestyle. It's like a subreddit, I think.
But I think if there are genres you feel are neglected, I think there are waves of those kinds of games that come out. And I think it's, even if it's your favorite, you can really benefit by not obsessing over it and by spacing it out and then have those new games that come out. Because yeah, I feel super fatigued from Souls-like parry-based combat games and roguelikes right now because they are everywhere. And like every game is trying to be kind of Soulsy. But if you are a fan of that, then when that trend dies out, you have no shortage of games to play through as long as you're patient about it that you can enjoy rather than being bummed that the wave is temporarily over or whatever. And so I'm trying to be more mindful about that because there are a lot of games that I really enjoy that I want to go sample them all right now, but I know I will enjoy them better when I still have them. Like, I'm super bummed we don't get a whole lot of DMC games, like the original God of War style, Heavenly Sword, Bayonetta, whatever. But we do have a newer Devil May Cry, a newer Bayonetta, those like Stellar Blade. So by spacing them out, I still get some of them, even if they are only made in short bursts at a time.
Yeah, genre fatigue is a real thing. I want to note, by the way, I didn't know about this Marvel Cosmic Invasion. I'm not a 2D beat 'em up player. I remember getting just destroyed at Double Dragon when I was a kid and kind of never liking the genre because I got whooped so bad. But this game came out like 4 days ago, looks super sick, and it has a Steam demo. So I already added this to the library while you were talking about it, and this could be a really cool opportunity to dip into a genre because I loved Marvel vs. Capcom when I was younger, the fighting game, and this is like identical art style, that super cool hand-drawn Third Strike looking thing. So this looks incredibly rad, and demos are the best. But I love what you mentioned about the genre fatigue. I looked back at my games that I played this last year, and Horizon Forbidden West was one of them in, I don't know, February. I went on just a binge, right, with the PS5, and I just played story game after story game after story game. And I remember, like, at the time when I finished Horizon, I was like, ugh, the story, it was so long. And I was like, I was over it. I was super over it. And now with a full year behind me, I look back and I'm like, that game was super fun. Yeah, I thought the narrative wasn't that good, but looking back, that was really cool. I was fatigued from the same game even, okay? If I had pressed pause on the Forbidden West playthrough until I was interested in playing that kind of game again, I probably would have enjoyed it more when I beat it. And there is something really important about, like, I finished Expedition 33, and like you said, the parry mechanic is super sick in that, but it's like a huge portion of it. And I sort of left it going like, I don't want to play any parry games right now. I need a break. Okay, this mechanic is cool, but it's getting overdone. Similar to, like, we mentioned the Vampire Survivors kind of wave-based survival thing. It's having its moment in the sun right now. Yeah. Mega Bonk looks super cool. They've got a Deep Rock Galactic one. Everybody's doing this, and it is cool and it is fun. But if that's all I was playing back to back to back, I would like end up hating the genre and the conventions. You know?
Yes. I also think there's something to pausing a game and taking a break and not feeling the pressure, as we talked about, to roll credits and coming back to it. You did that this year with Final Fantasy as well. You got kind of burned on it, and then you came back and absolutely loved it. I talked about this in my video recently about how my gaming changes with the seasons, and like my fall gaming is different than my cozy winter gaming and whatever. And a lot of people mentioned that about how they really had to pause a certain game and come back to it. And it was like life-changing for them to realize that they could still enjoy it. That games kind of hit differently at different points in your life. And the awareness of that is a huge deal. Yeah. I haven't done that recently, but I definitely think that's part of how I was able to appreciate Elden Ring so much more after really struggling with Souls games. Coming back in a completely different mindset made a big deal. And I haven't picked it back up since I kind of got distracted from it with some life stuff. But I know when I feel that itch, I'm going to go with it and am still going to enjoy it. And I think that is super important. I also felt similarly, like I mentioned before, we tried Horizon Zero Dawn a few times before we really stuck with it. And now my wife and I have 45 hours into it. And at first the super slow like uptick of the story was like really grindy. And we, like you said, we were just like, oh my God. But then we spent a lot of time just doing like daily login things of like doing your gathers and doing a couple side quests and whatever. And now we're getting through a lot of the big heavy story stuff. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is awesome. I want more. Can we play tonight? And I don't think that would have been the case had we shoved it all together. And I really think, I hate to say it, I think I would have reviewed Doom the Dark Ages a little more positively had I played it over a longer period of time. But Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, I both, because I enjoyed them so much, I played them in one weekend each and then reviewed them. And I was like, I just want to do that with the Dark Ages because that's what I did. Like, I loved it. And I remember the weekend Doom Eternal came out because it was the same weekend Animal Crossing came out. And I remember fondly my pregnant wife sitting on the couch playing Animal Crossing as I'm blasting through crazy Doom Eternal levels and finished it in like 2 days. And I wanted to recreate that. So I forced myself to finish it in like 3 or 4 days, taking notes for my review and stuff. And a lot of the conventions of that game that I didn't agree with were that much more abrasive because I was just forcing my way through it. Whereas I think I would have, I still would have had similar complaints, but I would have felt less like offensively about it had I just been able to take breaks and like take my time and whatever.
Yep. Similar story. Doom Eternal was done, beaten, and video review up like 2 days later.
Yeah.
And I have never felt more like a used sponge in my life at the end of it. I was like, I cannot rip and tear anything else. I'm done. It was too much.
Exhausting.
And that game in and of itself is like insane. The further you get it, it's just and it's right up my alley. You know, I love the spazzy ultra movement. Like, give me all of that when it comes to FPS stuff.
Yeah, I definitely. I remember a moment. My wife had asked me to like, maybe it was dinner time and I was supposed to make dinner and I didn't see what time it was, or she had asked me to get something or whatever. And of course, she's like very pregnant. It was like a month before we had our kid.
Oh yeah.
Asked me to go do something, and obviously, like, very pregnant wife sitting on the couch asking, like, I was gonna go do it, but like I was in the middle of one of those final levels. And I just looked over at her with this like twitchy, unhinged, like rat face on, like I gotta shoot my ice ball and then do my melee and then do the chainsaw. You want me to do what?
That game is so good. It's got all the perfect rock, paper, scissors. It's amazing. But yeah, the Rebirth story you mentioned. So right after Horizon Forbidden West, which was, I don't know, like a 30-hour story game or something, I started Rebirth, which is a 40-hour story game, and I got 10 hours and I'm like, I'm done. I can't do it. And then in September, I don't know, I booted it back up. I was like, this is perfect for right now. And I loved it so much. I went right into Remake, and I did like 65 hours of Final Fantasy VII over like 2.5 months. And it was great, but look, I mean, you mentioned on a previous show, loving roguelites. I think I mentioned I didn't love them as much right now. I think that is changing, and I'm kind of playing everything right now like a roguelite, where I go in for a, quote, run, where, like Mad Max for me, who cares? Like, if I just drive and knock over a tower, cool. That was some progress I made today. It was fun to drive the car. And I like evaluating games on that, like the moment-to-moment gameplay. Is it fun? And you mentioning the way you guys are kind of playing Horizon, it's basically like a roguelite. You log in for your session. Your session is like, liberate this town, do this side quest, move on, you know?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And to me, that is part of what we had talked about earlier of like the smaller session, but higher quality version of the session. Because there are a lot of story games that I'm like, I don't understand how people put in enough hours to beat this game. And I'm sitting there trying to play it for 4 hours at a time so I can try to beat it. And it feels miserable. And I feel like I make no progress. And then I burn out and quit playing. And then my little Steam Deck games that I'm putting 20 and 30-minute sessions into, I'm racking up like 20 and 40 hours in a couple months because it's just adding up as I'm quickly getting in and out and having the fun. And I'm like, wow, this is a way to get actual game time. It's actually doable. And it's not for everybody, but to me, the smaller, higher quality time spent in a game is way better than just trying to be like, all right, it's the weekend. Today I'm going to play 6 hours of this story and see if I can finish it.
Yeah, you're looking for the finish line instead of recognizing it's about the journey. It's about the journey, not the
that
destination,
quote is
bro.
eternal.
Oh, Doom Eternal. Hey, I think this ties in really well with the last bullet point, the show docs. Do you think the demo disc article, like the forum post, like ties into this?
Yeah, so I had forgotten about that. Pocket Larry on my forums, demodisc.zone, had talked about how they are taking a break from mainstream gaming altogether. And I loved this because it was a situation where they saw something that would have made them like super grumpy, and they could have just ranted and raved on social media about it. And instead, they took it to a smaller group and had the awareness to be like, whoa, this is making me feel really frustrated and really bad and ruining the taste of this kind of game for me. And instead of just trying to be miserable like I have before, I'm just going to focus on these indie games. I'm going to focus on smaller games that are really exciting, smaller, ask less of me, and I know aren't dealing with these things. And that level of self-awareness is so rare, but it's something we've been like breeding in you all in this show. And it made me so happy to see. I have no idea if they even watched this show. They didn't reference it or anything. They just talked about it in this way on the forums, which is fantastic. But it's something I do every time. If I get overwhelmed with the just like doomerism of mainstream gaming news, if I'm actually keeping up with it, I intentionally put down any modern internet connected console and go play a PS2 game or PS1 game. And immediately I'm like, yeah, this is gaming. This is what I love. It's still here. It can still be here. And that awareness to just step back from whatever is even associated with the bad thing can make a huge difference. And then you can go back to it. You're not going away forever. But I thought it was an incredible like round of self-awareness and really moving into being intentional. As we say over and over.
We're all in control of this hobby, and like it's a huge luxury to get to play. I think we always get to frame these things as like nuanced problems in the grand scheme of life. Getting to play a game is a massive luxury, and I think there's just a benefit in recognizing this darn feelings test epos. It just comes back to this. Recognizing when you're not having fun, and then the hardest part, making a choice to do something differently.
Yeah.
The lines get blurred because there's plenty of things like with a real job, like my real job, like I don't like that bother me to no end that you just have to deal with. I can't like swap a disc, right, and change. I mean, I guess you could. It just would be very hard to switch routes. But like there are some things that you just cannot change. But when it comes to hobbies and free time and these things that are supposed to be restorative and fun, literally it's just supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Try something different. Just do something differently. If it fails, whatever, try again. I like that you mentioned you're trying to fail at everything that you do. We've heard that phrase so many times, right? The Edison quote, right?
Yeah.
He failed a gajillion times with the light bulb, but the one time it worked, great. He changed the world. And I hear it. I know it. I don't put it into practice, you know?
Yeah. No, I when I was really trying to develop my game critiquing, reviewing, perspective chops, whatever, in the like mid 2010s, I intentionally tried every game that I thought like my first impression said I would not like, and did that for like 6 months. Like I'd watch every Total Biscuit WTF is, and every game that immediately I was just like I would normally write off, I went and tried the demo or like found a way to play, and it was so informed. I count those as like equivalent to like failures at trying a new thing. Like that was so informative to being able to identify what I do want and like, and what my like red flags are in a game. And it was so beneficial. And it's the same thing, like that makes it so much easier when you do find a thing that likes to know that it's going to click.
Yep.
And there was a continued conversation in the thread where they brought up Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, which was a game I was so excited for my kiddo. It's a Sonic Racing kart game, but they have a ton of crossover DLC. Like the whole thing is like interdimensional multiverse thing. They have tons of crossover DLCs with franchises and stuff, including Minecraft. And I was like, this is how I get my kid into kart games. This is going to be amazing, whatever. And the game is like a $70 asking price plus like 15 or whatever. For
30% off right now on Steam, by the way, sir. It's $50.
But every crossover is a paid DLC. And I'm like, I can't spend $100-something so my kiddo can race Steve in Minecraft on a cart. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. If I want to get him into kart games, we have Mario Kart. We have Crash Team Racing. Like, just because this one thing is maybe predatory doesn't mean I can't have fun. I just have to pause. And then that person pointed out that Sonic games very consistently get pretty solid discounts.
Oh,
like
insane
6 months.
discount. Yeah.
Yeah.
You wait for the Steam summer sale. By the way, this is overwhelmingly positive on Steam
Yeah, it seems
for a
great.
Sonic
It's
kart
just
game, dude.
expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
It's got a demo.
yeah.
Add to library.
I have no doubts of the quality of it. It's just the cost investment, because I can't get it without getting like half of the crossovers that my kiddo wants.
Yes.
But by being patient and waiting another 6 months, I can still get it, make sure that everyone still says like it hasn't fallen apart or something, and then get it cheaper and justify affording it for my kid. And he doesn't need it right now.
I wonder if Nexus Mods has some stuff like Steve's been modded into it or something. Anyway, see, what you're doing is making a disciplined decision based around your values.
Yeah.
Like, that's great. And like, that's awesome. I didn't know you had forums, by the way.
Yes. I
Forums
launched
are
them
sick.
a couple years ago. It is using my very cool to me demodisc.zone domain. And I originally launched it as a way to like feature, because I was doing my goal is to archive and rip and preserve all of my, like I have a massive collection of demo discs and have dedicated forum posts for them. But in the meantime, I also just want to have forums back. Like I just want to have the experience back. And it's super small at the moment, and it'll probably stay that way because forums are not the thing anymore. But I want to practice what I preach. And if I want some of the old to be injected with the new on the internet, then I got to be a part of that. So I set this up just as a place to hang out, have longer discussions, and a place that is asynchronous. You're not expected to have instant messaging. You're just there to chat when you can. And that works a lot better for me with the, time and place kind of thing. Like I check it every couple days at a specific time, and I don't obsess over it.
Yep. And there's a finite amount of stuff. It's not an infinite scroll. You just go, you use it, and then you kind of move on with your life. Now, you say they're not the thing anymore, but I was at the mall this last weekend and saw an awful lot of cargo pants on the racks, dude. So everything comes back around at some point, dude. Have you noticed all of our like fashion Gen Z is rocking? Like it's now the cool thing again. I don't know what to think about that, but
It's
so
so
many of our
interesting.
styles are back.
Yeah, it's so interesting too because it changes ever so slightly. So it's like a weird like estimation of what things used to look like. Like I saw someone also I saw a clip on a social media site somewhere of someone doing a scene makeup tutorial. Not tutorial, but just like a quick time lapse of like, here's how I turned myself into a 2000 scene person. And like it was mostly there, but the eye makeup and stuff was way more exaggerated and almost like anime looking, which
like
is
the meme. Yeah.
which is kind of what they were going for back then, but didn't necessarily have the reference or the materials for. And so it's like an evolution of it, which adds its own little flavor to it, which is kind of cool in a way. And then, of course, you have the wave of people using like PSPs and digicams and stuff basically as fashion accessories. And it's like we weren't just toting them on like necklace chains back in the day or having them hanging from our pants. Like that's not what life was like. But go for it, I guess.
And Tamagotchis on the waist belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. All right, let's hop into the next topic here. Netflix buying WB Games? Netflix buying WB like
itself.
Warner Brothers in general? Is this like happening?
Yeah, so they have made an exclusive bid offer, offering like $30 per share. They are still waiting. Obviously, the DOJ has to determine if it violates trust laws. It would mean the Animaniacs get moved off of their water tower, which would be tragic.
I have seen that tower many times. I did a WB studio lot tour a few years ago. It was the coolest thing ever. Oh,
that's
dude,
cool.
It's so sick. In Jurassic Park, the T-Rex chase sequence where like that's shot on like 100-foot little stretch of dirt road over on the lot. And all they did is they drive down one direction, then drive back the other way. And like seeing it in person was mind blowing. One of my favorite parts about filmmaking is like just watching how the sausage is made and like seeing how jank and just like normal stuff looks when you see production stills and then seeing the finished product. And basically the majority of that chase sequence is shot on 100-foot stretch of dirt road that basically anybody could have done anywhere. And I'm just like, that is freaking cool, man.
Yeah, it's like magic. That's something that I really hate about streaming stuff is we don't get the like extras, the behind the scenes, the commentary,
no more BTS.
the bloopers. Yeah.
So anyway, I distracted there. If anybody has the chance to go do the WB Studio Lot tour, it's super cool. You can sit on the friend's couch. You can see like all of the buildings on the lot. Okay, nifty thing, dude. Like if they're shooting and the lot is basically every New York or LA shot ever, right? It's a fake town. The windows of all the shops actually are on hinges, so you can pivot them a few degrees left or right to prevent the reflection of the lights. It's just
That's
such cool stuff. You're like, oh man, there's a whole production like wizard world out there. Anyway,
yes, it's very
not
cool.
happy to hear this.
No.
I don't feel like Netflix makes good decisions at all about this.
Like we were just, I was hesitating to not bring it up when you mentioned earlier them doing the whole like retention background viewing thing, because that's really concerning with them having ownership over a major thing. But also Warner's ownership right now sucks in general anyway, and they have destroyed a lot of film history recently. So them staying on their own and being acquired are both bad outcomes. So I don't know what the result is, but it really concerns me because it includes an acquisition of WB Games, which includes studios like NetherRealm, which makes Mortal Kombat and other things. And Netflix already tried having a games division just like Amazon and got nowhere with it. And so I'm always concerned with acquisitions because things never stay the same. And while WB needs change, I don't think Netflix is the change that it needs.
So a lot of questions. Will Warner Brothers movies still be released in theaters? And they released a statement that says they expect that things will remain as it should, but we know that's like garbage. They're going to push a lot of stuff straight to...
Every acquisition, they say things will stay the same, and that lasts all of 6 months until they fully take over, and then it doesn't stay the same.
Incredification. I mean, everything's just becoming a monopoly at this point. I mean, HBO Max is owned by WB. You got Game of Thrones. There's so much IP that WB has under them, and it is. I hope WB Games. I've enjoyed Middle Earth: Shadow of War lately, or Shadow of Mordor. I can't remember which. I think it's Shadow of War.
I still need to play those. I have both. They've always seemed like a game really up my alley, but I've just never sat down with them for some reason.
I love Lord of the Rings, and it's been really fun. I won't lie. I'm having some trouble like with it being super sticky, but the concept is we talk about roguelite stuff. It's got some roguelite-y elements, and it's sort of this fun, go on this part of the map. It is very cool. I think it's worthwhile, and they're always like $5 on. I'm sure the Steam Winter Sale, you're going to get both of them for $5. So, my goodness. Everything in the pursuit of money. We're sacrificing everything. So 12 to 18 months is when they expect this to go through if regulators allow it. But that's a lot of IP under one label, dude.
Yeah.
Are we going to have like a $50 a month Netflix sub? Like the ultimate package with WB content and HBO content and all that stuff?
It's all it's gotta bust eventually, right? Like, I worry with the amount of IP that Warner has that they're gonna quickly start canceling physical releases, and that's gonna bum me out a lot because some Netflix stuff gets it, but not all of it. And
I'm trying to see if Netflix is profitable. Yeah, Netflix is profitable.
Yeah, it's a weird scenario. I just wanted to, especially because you had talked about the background viewing thing. I'm nervous about where those things go. I'm hoping that it just means WB's leadership gets checked. Because like Netflix could have housed the Batgirl movie and the Scooby-Doo
tax
movie
write-off
and all of these things. Like there was no reason to get rid of those. So like maybe some good will come from it because Netflix can stream anything. So I don't know.
What is the surprise topic? You already opened with a surprise. I see there's a surprise topic note in here.
So that was my final favorite topic of the past year. Was like 3 or 4 months ago, I made the proclamation that Steam won the console wars. And that was like 2 months before the Steam Machine announcement. And like we keep predicting weird trends or things that end up getting announced like a month or two ahead of time on this show. And that was just one of those weird examples where I was like, yep, Steam is winning the console wars because even Xbox is like, yeah, we'll just let you run Steam on it. That's fine on our next console. And I'm just like, all Steam has to do is come out with a box and we're good. And here we are.
Be careful what you say. You are kind of like Nostradamus because you talked about the PS4 and then literally everybody was like, I got the PS4 is the best here in late 2025.
So it definitely has me it definitely has me considering what I say in terms of making sure if I want to act on it, I'm going to do that first and then I'll say it.
Well,
it's been fun being able to like call out that kind of stuff on this show and like have a record even that like, because people argued in the comments. They're like, no, a Steam Machine doesn't make sense anymore. It failed. What are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. And then here we are. I feel vindicated sometimes.
all nuance is lost in that discussion, which I've seen like happen where like if somebody suggests Steam Machine is like revolutionary or going to be like really impactful, immediately people come in with like, well, Steam Deck sold like 3 or 5 million or whatever it is. That's nothing in the grand scheme of things when you compare console numbers. And I think that kind of misses the point. Like the Steam Machine and PC gaming is like, well, PC gaming continues to grow. We talked about that last show, but
Yeah.
it's still a niche, but I like what it represents. Like seeing this ecosystem where you can play your games on your actual desktop PC or then play it on a Steam Deck or Steam Deck-like device. And now the Steam Machine SKU is coming into the mix. We've had this pretty rampant era of unoptimized games, and there's always been unoptimized games, but come on, like the last, 7-8 years, it does seem like maybe anecdotally or subjectively it has increased. And I like the idea of there being this a few guiding lights for the developers on the PC side to build and optimize around a little bit.
Yeah.
And Steam Machine might offer that, the label of Steam Deck verified, especially on the indie side. Like, you now know, build a game that runs well on it, you're probably going to accumulate some more sales,
Yes.
right?
And the games I've played that have dedicated Steam Deck setting profiles are incredible in terms of performance. Like, you would not expect, like the Dynasty Warriors roguelike thing. At the time of recording, my video on that just went live. That is a game where you have hundreds of enemies on screen at once, tons of particle effects. You get to summon extra heroes. Like, it is a disaster in terms of like visual rendering. And the Steam Deck profile runs almost a near locked, like there's only one move you can make that makes it drop below 60 FPS. And that's just like incredible.
Helldivers 2. I sent you an article last night. They're working on like deduplication or something where basically the 100 and I don't have it up right now,
it's
but
like 108 gigabytes or something.
Yeah, they're reducing it to like 24 gigabytes.
Yeah, that's bananas.
Like, that's so cool. That would be great. That makes it something where I'd like, well, I'd install that on the deck a lot more easily.
Yeah.
And
That is what ruined my first wave of games installed on the deck was I installed games like Diablo and something else. And it like ate up all of my storage for a game I did not play that often. And yeah, having the smaller games where it's like, I'm going to install this indie game. Oh, look, it's like 700 megabytes. Sure, that can go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. People kind of, I think, miss the mark. No, I don't believe Steam Machine is going to dethrone any of the console giants. But I think it's going to usher in some really cool... Did I say Steam Deck or Steam Machine?
You said
Steam Machine. Okay, cool. I think it's going to usher in a really cool kind of guiding North Star for a lot of these developers.
Yeah. I try to not get too combative on this show, but I think if you just go based on sales numbers and say the Steam Deck has not had a game-changing like impact on the market, I really think you are either like ignoring signs or just aren't paying attention. The Steam Deck, before the Steam Deck, the PC handheld market existed, but it was super niche and way more expensive. And the Steam Deck made it accessible and made it way more popular. Like, nothing before the Steam Deck was selling any millions of units in the first place. And then we see an entire market of competing devices show up because it's so popular. The Steam Machine itself may have, or Steam Deck, the Steam Deck itself may have only sold 3 or 4 million units so far, but that's on top of the ROG Ally and the Legion Go and all the other little ones that come up. And now we get all the Android ones that are coming out. And even Xbox decided to make a version of the ROG Ally. Like, if you shift an existing game console company's battle plan, you could argue the PlayStation Portal was a response to this as well. Like, both of the major console companies, and you could argue the Switch was a role in that, but like them together, like it shifted so much in the market. It doesn't matter how many it sold for it to have an impact. And I think the Steam Machine, like you said, absolutely will here, where it shows that consoles are now directly having to compete with PC. We're going to see, like you said, optimization benefits and ideally more competition in terms of feature offerings.
Yep. Can I shift gears real quick? I've got 2 free games or 3 free games I want to highlight. So for anybody who still has Amazon Prime, I it doesn't show an expiration date that I can see right here, but XCOM 2 and New Tales from the Borderlands are both free, and those are GOG downloads. I think these remain for a little while longer. XCOM 2 is a great tactical RPG for the PC, so highly recommend that. And then the free games for Epic, I'm trying to find it, the Party Pack, the Jackbox Party Pack 4 is on there, and there's a game called Fibbage 3, which, have you ever done any of the Party Pack games?
I've played like a couple of the general like Jackbox things, but I've never played like the newer ones.
Okay. Well, these are really fun games, especially with the holidays coming up. If you have friends or family coming over, basically all of them are playable with a smartphone. So anybody who comes into the room, right, they can just type in this URL, they join the game, and you can usually play with like 4 to 8 people. And Fibbage 3 is this funny game where you just try and like convince people of these silly kind of ad lib lies. And it has been on my PlayStation 4 for years and years and years. And it's kind of a tradition, like if friends or family are getting together, to boot up Fibbage, and it's free right now. I know it's Epic Games, so good luck digging up the login info for that. Or I haven't, booted it in forever, but highly recommend downloading Jackbox Party Pack 4.
I want to give a shout out here real quick to the Heroic Games launcher. This originally got its popularity by letting you integrate stuff on Steam Deck through your Steam for other launchers, but it's even on Windows now, and it lets you kind of collate your Amazon, GOG, Epic, all those extra game launcher games into Steam. It can inject them into Steam, which is great on Steam Deck or on various Linux flavors that try to emulate Steam OS. Or it just makes it easier to not have to log in and juggle those extra launchers, because a lot of those games, even on Epic especially, you can run them without ever downloading the client. And so you can use that launcher to install and download and run those games without needing to juggle the extra launchers themselves. And it is a lifesaver for someone who rarely logs into like their Epic account, but needs to, or wants to rather, play those games or whatever. Like, it is a huge lifesaver.
I need to try some of these because, I don't pull GOG up enough, and I almost installed A Hat in Time again, which I got on GOG. I think it's the first game I ever bought on GOG was A Hat in Time. And gosh, it runs so well. I totally forgot. Oh, I have an idea for our closing segment. This is my surprise topic. I didn't tell you about this, but I would love to hear what your favorite game or games were that you played this last year. And then as we're kind of closing out the 1-year anniversary show for Dual Commentary, nothing like super specific, but is there something this next year you want to do, improve at, think about differently, something that's just been on your head as we go into another year of kind of these intentional conversations?
So, in terms of games, Haste is probably up there at number 1. I am disappointed with myself. I've been on such a big trying new games binge that I didn't go back and keep like grinding the endless modes of that game and do the co-op with you and stuff like we talked about. And I would still like to do that. But for my initial playthrough, I felt a real emotional response to the ending of the story, and it was a lot of fun. And it was one of those games that really, it was a demo game for me. I downloaded the demo. It was like 20 minutes long, and I don't think I even waited a second. As soon as that demo concluded, I Alt F4'd, went to Steam, bought the game, and started playing because I had such a good like flow state time with it. I got my kiddo into playing it. It was a lot of fun. And then following that, a lot of good roguelikes this year for me. So Warriors Abyss is my current obsession, which is Dynasty Warriors, but a roguelike. It's more like Hades than Survivors. It's a lot more like Hades than Survivors, which is kind of cool. And then Jotun Slayer, which is more of a Survivors game. But there's been a lot of good games this year.
Yes. And then topic-wise, thought-wise, things that you're thinking about differently for this next year?
So it's funny you bring this up because I'm actually working on a video for Lost Saves about like my 5 goals for 2026. So I can just like summarize them real quick. The big thing for me is I want dedicated days in my studio where I am doing like free roam creation of some sort, whether it's a craft, an art project, doing some glitch art, some design work, whatever feels right, just experimenting and playing around without the pressure to make something for a video. My biggest kind of road bump lately is that I feel pressured to turn everything into a video or relate it to a video somehow, which has prevented me from connecting with just making art or having fun with the process of making art, ignoring the end goal. And I want to get back to just having days where I just come in and see what feels good and play around with some materials and some processes. My second one is to spend a lot less time, which I've already been cutting out, watching videos and more time reading books, watching films, trying to find things that have deeper meaning. I want to play a lot more games without the shame of it. I just want to play games for the sake of gaming rather than, feeling like I need to min-max my hobbies. I want to stop buying for every idea I have. Every time I see a new craft I want to try, I'm pulling up supplies lists and ordering stuff, and that has to stop.
Yeah.
I saw someone 3D print concrete casts for like molding concrete, like planters and stuff like that. And immediately I'm like, oh, cool. All right, let me pull up Lowe's and look up the concrete and stuff so I could start. And like, it's winter. I'm not going to do this right now. Why am I trying to, I don't have room for more hobbies. Why am I doing this? And then the last one is just to collaborate more, which I've been doing a lot more with this podcast and trying to do in all of my content.
I love that.
What about you?
My favorite game that I played this year came out in 2019. I've mentioned it before. Sayonara Wild Hearts.
And you just gifted it to me. Aw.
Yeah, dude. Well, it was on sale. I apologize for the listeners. When we're recording this, the sale on Steam ends in like 11 minutes, and I saw the timer going down there. This game is fire. It's, how do you even describe it? It's a rhythmic runner game, and it's like playing through a pop album, and you ride motorcycles and shoot lasers and sword fight and battle three-headed mecha wolves and break hearts all at 200 miles an hour. And the soundtrack's incredible. The visuals are great. It is a game you can wrap up in just a few hours. And I don't know, I haven't looked up performance with Steam Deck, but this would be a game to play on your Steam Deck, dude. And there's no pressure, obviously, but I would love to discuss it if you enjoy it, because I think it is the kind of game, if it vibes with you, it will vibe with you incredibly hard. It's super sick. Outside of that, stuff for this next year, I'm going down the Linux journey. I've got an old laptop. I even got an old Windows 10 Office PC. I followed our advice and was able to get one for free. And I'm going to be turning that into a Linux rig and doing something home labby with it, I guess. And I'm excited to kind of learn that journey and learn about distros and make mistakes and kind of have some fun tinkering there. Similar to you, I think a lot of our conversations resonate. I am going to try and be more intentional with purchases. I have bought many games and things. I'm like, oh, I'll definitely watch that. And when I was first getting the Jellyfin server up, I was like ravenous. I'm like, we're $50. I can get 10 Blu-rays. This is amazing. Or it's loaded up, Dragoon. Take a second. Let's slow down. Let's watch what we have before we accumulate some more, And a goal this next year is definitely more balance, right? With hobbies, less consumption, and honestly trying to bring back things that I've been trying to do for years. I grew up playing piano, and I've had a hard time scheduling time to practice and to get into it. And what always happens is when I get in the loop of practicing, it becomes addictive. You get over this initial hump, you get back in the zone, and it becomes fun again. But I want to be more in that spot. I think that's partly why I'm not trying to race to credits on a ton of games like I was this previous year and a half. Had a ton of fun doing it, but if I can play 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day, low friction, have a good time, cool, great. And then the big one for me is just less reaction. Yeah. I'm an overthinker. I'm very introverted and empathetic, and I think you are too in a lot of ways. And so it's hard to not take on emotions of other people's problems and challenges. And it doesn't mean you try to be less caring. It doesn't mean that you aren't trying to be, nothing bothers me anymore. But I am trying to recognize each year how to not take on the world's problems, but to navigate through it appropriately. And I think that's the best way to I guess, phrase it. So really excited for the next few weeks, intentionally taking a little time off and gonna enjoy some Steam Deck or whatever, and maybe not, maybe just get away from games during. I always kind of look forward to the downtime as game time, but also maybe reframing some of the downtime as not game time, you know?
Yeah, downtime to just relax and be with yourself and your feelings and to decompress. That's something that's been big for me this year, is realizing that my downtime does not need to be gaming time. Often we forget that free time is often just supposed to be free time, not fill time.
Min-max.
Yeah.
Grind culture. Side hustle. Content.
Synergy.
Thanks, synergy. Enhance. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for 1 year of an awesome, fun ride with the podcast. We're really appreciative of you. If you want to stay up to date, we'll definitely do a party chat here in the next few weeks. That is the companion show to Dual Commentary, where we respond to your comments and the topic suggestions that you give. That is over on Epos' channel, Lost Saves, which Epos, would you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah. The channel or the show?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it started as, hey, I haven't made gaming videos in a while. I want to get back to that. I had made a bunch of other gaming channels in the past, and it started with a more focus on gameplay while my main channel focused on the gaming tech. But at this point, it's kind of just everything about your relationship with gaming. So whether it's nostalgia or finding new ways to play or cool retro setups or appreciating the PS4, like it's kind of a lot of what we talk about here, but with just my own hyperfixations on any individual game or franchise and stuff, and just trying to keep a mostly laid back, not overstimulating vibe about it, which is really important to me.
It's awesome. I wish you produced more, because that's one of the YouTube. Anytime I see a video come up, I'm like, yep, that's getting the tab open. That's getting watched. So
I'm trying.
Right on. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you for listening, and we will see you again very soon.
Thank you. Bye.